Hello, my name is Aggarwal and this is my presentation on health inequalities in Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander children and youth. The report accounts on the reasons why Indigenous children and youth experience health inequalities even after implementation of several strategies since 1967 referendum in which Commonwealth accepted its duty to make laws for the benefit of Indigenous populations. Infant death rates were one in populations mainly due to antenatal complications including fetal growth disorders and birth trauma. Low birth weight and sudden infant death syndrome accounted for 4% of overall indigenous death rates, while injury and poisoning were the leading causes of death among 1 to 4-year-old indigenous children. Injury and trauma accounted for more than half of the deaths in 5 to 14-year-old children. Suicide, transport, and assault were the leading causes of deaths among 15 to 34-year-old indigenous people. The major determinants of health among indigenous children and youth include early childhood development, socio-economic status, and social and emotional well-being. Various authors have described the importance of early childhood development for healthy living of an individual. Studies have shown there is a strong association between low birth weight and infant mortality. According to Australian Institute of Health and Welfare, babies born to indigenous mothers are more than 2 times likely to have low birth weight as compared to non-indigenous counterparts. Indigenous females of less than 20 years of age are 1.6 times more likely to have a low birth weight baby. This incidence is further exacerbated by 5 times higher rates of pregnancy among indigenous teens. Antenatal care has a higher impact on indigenous women as they are at a higher risk of giving birth to a baby with low birth weight and a higher exposure to other risk factors including anemia, poor nutrition, gestational diabetes and smoking, etc. But indigenous women receive significantly lower number of antenatal care sessions. There are higher chances of premature delivery among indigenous females. This is related to multiple pregnancies and risk factors like smoking. Studies have reported that maternal risk smoking is leading a preventable cause of adverse pregnancy outcomes in indigenous females. Lee et al. Found 4 times higher rates of smoking during pregnancy among indigenous females as compared to non-indigenous females. Socioeconomic status and geographic location are also shown to be linked with low birth weight. Indigenous schooling completion rates are significantly lower than the rates for non-indigenous students. 2008 National Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander survey have shown positive relation between higher level of schooling with better health status. Low school completion rates are due to low accessibility in remote areas, lack of recognition of culture and history, inability to engage parents, carers and community, ongoing social disadvantage and health issues. The unemployment rates for individual Australians were higher than the non-Indigenous Australians across all age groups. Studies have shown that the impact of unemployment on physical and mental health as well as the well-being of a person and its relation with the illness, disability or death. Low income levels are associated with lack of resources and poorly informed lifestyle choices. This impacts on their health. Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander health is viewed in a holistic context that encompasses mental health and physical, cultural and spiritual health. Land is central to well-being. Crucially, it must be understood that when the harmony of these interrelations is disrupted, Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander ill health will persist. Mental health has more of the clinical perspective and deals with illness, while social and emotional well-being is a broader concept and recognizes the importance of land, culture, ancestor, family and community. Problems which impact social and emotional well-being of indigenous people are grief and loss resulting from sudden, unexpected death of family members. Indigenous people are 2.4 times more likely to have attended funeral of family member or a friend in the last 12 months as compared to non-indigenous people. Removal from family due to stolen generations and incarcerations lead to unresolved trauma which has intergenerational impacts resulting in substance abuse, family violence and mental health issues. Land is central to social relationships and emotional well-being of indigenous people. Biomedical research and surveys have shown that the living in homeland has been associated with increased resilience and lower incidence of chronic diseases like hypertension and diabetes. Majority of hospitalizations of indigenous people due to trauma are related to family violence. Family violence further impacts the well-being due to increased risk of death, incarcerations and substance abuse. Social disadvantage results from systemic discriminations due to inadequate laws, and regulations for redistribution of resources which are required for the development of well-being of the adult and children. Racism has been significantly associated with poor self-assessed health status, psychological distress, substance use, and attempted suicides among Indigenous Australians. According to Western Australian Aboriginal Child Health Survey, 21.5% of the Indigenous children under 12 years of age experienced racism in the previous 6 months. Closing the Gap campaign is the major agreement under which all levels of government are committed to address the inequalities experienced by indigenous populations. Listed are the 6 targets of this campaign. National Partnership Agreement on Indigenous Early Childhood Development provided the framework for actions to provide best start in life to all the children. 38 children and family centers have been established across most disadvantaged areas with high proportion of indigenous children below 5 years of age. Programs funded under this agreement include New Directions, Mothers and Baby Services, which provide access to antenatal care, information about baby care, developmental milestones, immunization services, and health checks. Healthy for Life program provides support in making healthy lifestyle choices. The Australian Nurse Family Program improves pregnancy outcomes by engaging women in preventative health practices. Good for You, good for two targets: pregnant women and those planning on becoming pregnant and their partners. Strengths include that the programs build on existing systems to improve community strengths by using culturally appropriate and successful strategies. The programs ensure continuity of culture to improve resilience and determination of the community. However, the evaluation is focused on implementation issues such as establishment of structures rather than elevation of social disadvantage. Lack of persistent funding is the another limitation due to slowness of outcomes to be realized. Systemic issues as local trials usually require changes in the ways programs are funded and prioritized. Second strategy, closing the school completion gap for Indigenous students, aims to maintain educational program for Indigenous students in order to maintain their retention till year 12. The programs funded are Parental and Community Education Program, which facilitates families' participation in decision making and reinforcing their child's learning at home. Sporting Chance Program is designed to use sport and recreational activities as a vehicle to engage Indigenous students in their schooling. Indigenous Youth Leadership Program helps the students to develop leadership while they are studying, and Indigenous Youth Mobility Programs help the students living in remote areas to travel to cities to gain qualifications for sustainable employments. The strengths of these programs are that they are focused on improving quality of school culture through high quality teachers and strong leadership, which plays a critical part in efforts to engage and retain students. The limitations of these programs is that it is difficult to retain appropriate teaching staff in rural and remote locations. There is lack of funding to train staff and to start new courses. And there is uncertainty about the continuity of the payment for the ongoing courses. The smaller school sizes limits the breadth of the subject offerings. There is a lack of applied support staff and lack of coordination with other school staffs and government departments. Third strategy is aimed at improving the mental health and social and emotional well-being of Indigenous Australians. The strategy is based on 9 guiding principles suggested by Swan and Raphael. The programs funded under this strategy include Let's Start program, which aims to improve parenting for better well-being during the early childhood; Family and Well-being program, which highlighted that the skill development improves the connectivity with family and community, thus raising the well-being of an individual; Bringing Them Home and mental health programs provided positive outcomes by reconnecting stolen members to their families and through counseling services. Therapeutic interventions provided under the Take Two project resulted in reduction of trauma-related symptoms, including anxiety, depression, and post-traumatic stress disorder. Drum Beat program combines musical expression with cognitive behavior therapy to engage young children in schooling. The strengths of these strategies are that the better parenting and schooling environment led to improved confidence among young youth, to communicate about their mental health issues and needs, reduced substance abuse among children due to increased well-being through skill development, and there is the reconnection to the families of the stolen members resulted in reduction in symptoms related to unresolved trauma. The limitations of these strategies are also the inadequate funding and the poor evaluation process, focusing on numerical values rather than improvement in well-being. The persistence of inequalities among indigenous children and youth due to improper reporting, lack of funding, and evaluations focused on implementation issues. The focus needs to be shifted towards building community resilience through shared decision making in developing and implementing programs which are culturally appropriate and avoid one size fits all approach.